Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. This is a very special interview today because Hartwick is back, Ross is back, I'm in the middle. It's like a duel here. Public Works versus Police Department. No, it's not. We're here to talk about alternate side parking, and it's awesome to see you guys come together here to discuss this. Alternate side parking, by the way, starts November 15th, runs through March 15th. It's every day. Happens every day. So, for those folks who want to wrap their head around alternate side parking, Ned, why don't you tell us, since I couldn't tell us in the prelim here how it works? Can you discuss it? All seriousness, we do want you to know how this works. So even days, even side. Odd days, odd side. That's the way that you should know it as, but break it down for us.
Yeah, so we have to think about what time or what day on the calendar it is at 1 o'clock in the morning. So for most people who go to bed prior to that hour, we have to think about what calendar day, if it's an odd day or an even day. If at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be an odd day, your car needs to be on the odd side of the street. If it's an even day, it needs to be on the even side of the street at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I think that's the hard part,
Not
right?
when you go to bed, right?
When you go to bed, you're like, oh, I'm on the right side of the street, right?
Yep.
No, it's
And
that
then-
later part.
To further confuse things, there might be a time where you have 2 odd days in a row.
How's that possible?
Well, there's a few months where we have 31 days, Jeremy, followed by the first. So you're going to want to think about those kinds of things. Look at the calendar at 1 o'clock in the morning and figure out which side of the street your car needs to be on.
Ross, we do this for a number of reasons, but the big one that I'm familiar with is the snow plowing operations. We want to get the snow and ice off the streets the best that we can, and this allows us to do that.
Yeah, so basically the way that we plow our streets is our plow crews will come through, they'll plow the main part of the roadway that you drive on, and then they'll come through and clear the snow off of the cleared side of the street, the side that no one should be parking on. Then the next day, when alternate side parking has switched sides of the street, they'll come through and they'll clear all the snow that is left between where there used to be parked cars. So then the whole street's cleared, and until the next snow event, both sides will be free of snow. So on the appropriate days, you can park there unimpeded.
So your next question might be, well, other communities call snow emergencies, or they don't, and it's not always going on every day. Why is ours happening every day, no matter if it rains, snows, or anything else?
So we want to remove the burden of checking social media or checking if there's a snow emergency from our residents. We don't want our residents to have to guess if it's going to snow at 1 o'clock in the morning after you're already in bed. So we have this ordinance enforced at all times from November 15th to March 15th.
Enforcement side of this, the department is as busy as it's ever been. So certainly, you are doing your best to enforce this, but what do you want people to know besides you got to follow this?
Well, as Ross indicated, this is in effect beginning this Friday on the 15th and goes through March, regardless of whether or not there's snow in the forecast. The other component to this is that we have 35 square miles to patrol, and our night shift officers are often busy during the first half of their shift, sometimes as late as 3 o'clock in the morning. And so alternate side parking enforcement is not their primary duty. We do not have parking enforcement officers that are working out there around the clock like in the city of Madison. And so we sometimes encounter situations where a resident in a neighborhood may say, I've parked my car this way for 2 months during the winter, even when it snowed, I haven't gotten a ticket. And now all of a sudden in February, here I am getting a citation for alternate side parking. And so while we understand that that might be confusing in some situations, we want people to know that we do our best to get around and address all neighborhoods to ensure that people are understanding it and abiding by those regulations.
Again, every day. It happens every day. November 15th through March 15th. You got to follow it no matter what. At the end of the day, if you don't move it and you left the snow and ice there, I mean, what's the alternative is not so pretty.
Yeah, so if we didn't have alternate side parking and people could just park, on both sides of the road and kind of move to wherever there was the least amount of snow, our plows would only be able to clear basically the center of the street, and they don't want to get too close to parked cars. They don't want to hit anything. Obviously, that's bad for our plows. It's very bad for your car. So they have to leave a few feet of snow on the outside of a parked car. If you get a parked car and then a couple feet of snow, all of a sudden your street is extremely narrow and you can't fit cars going both directions on the street. So in order to keep traffic moving and not impede your route to work the morning after it snows, that's kind of why we have this ordinance in the first place.
We also have a couple of really challenging streets in our city where I've seen situations where streets get so narrow that fire engines and larger vehicles, buses, have difficulty getting through that intersection. And the last thing we want to do when the roads are already in less than prime conditions is make it any more difficult for emergency services or for buses to get through.
And that's probably, I mean, if you don't get it cleared off, we know that it's going to melt, freeze, melt, freeze, melt, freeze. So not only if you have big plow roads and trying to get stuff and traffic and everybody else through it, you're just looking at disaster all the way around. You guys aren't out there just to write tickets, at alternate side parking. I mean, it should be clear here that this is to help get emergency vehicles, keep the traffic moving, keep everybody going. And then again, it's all about awareness. By not having to strike an emergency each time, hopefully helps everybody kind of wrap their head around this.
Yeah, ultimately, keeping our roads clear and safe during the winter protects our entire community. Whether you're driving to work, whether your child is riding a school bus, or whether you're calling for emergency assistance for an ambulance to your home in the early morning hours to make sure that everyone's able to get where they need to go as safely as possible. As I mentioned before, when we're already dealing with sometimes subprime road conditions, we want to make this as safe as possible. So while our goal is not out there to write as many tickets or anything like that, we want people to comply with the regulations so that our snowplow crews who do a fantastic job here in our community, I mean, I don't think that you could compare the way the roads are cleared here to anyone else in the area. We want to make their jobs as easy as possible because as we keep on growing and building more roads, they have even more work to do. And so we want to make it as efficient and safe as possible.
Well, look at last year's snowfall when we got that really heavy, wet piece that just would not come off the ground. And those crews worked day and night to get all that off of there. But that extra element of whatever the future weather holds for us, I mean, it just better reason to continue to do this and make it easier. Gentlemen, if people have any questions about snow removal, about police department being in my area, checking in my car, whatever, how can people ask questions or get in contact with you, at least from Public Works side?
Yeah, you can reach out to our general Public Works mailbox or phone number. And then also my phone number is 608-270-4266 if you have questions.
He really talks like this, too. He'll talk to you just like this on the phone. And for the police department side of things, if you got any concerns, comments, questions, certainly you can talk with an officer about the process here and what's going on. How can I do that?
Yeah, we have information available on our website that has the ordinance and has a graphic on how to accomplish alternate side parking, both in English and in Spanish. And then we're also available 24/7. If you have a question, something comes up maybe with your vehicle with a maintenance issue and you can't move it, you can certainly call our non-emergency dispatch number and speak to a dispatcher or an officer and get that question answered or take care of whatever the situation is.
All right, fantastic. Thank you both for joining me. Appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.